it, Vassos.
You won't have heard of our next guest if you haven't actually been born. He's the Hollywood superstar about to sprinkle some stardust literally over London's Lightroom. His new immersive experience, The Moonwalkers, a journey with Tom Hanks, opens today. So let's all give thanks for Tom Hanks!
Tom Hanks, all right, okay.
Now I have a question about the term superstar. Is it one word or two? Is there a hyphen in there? Is it all
No,
put
not where you're
together?
concerned. There's no hyphen required. There was a hyphen for a few years, but then you get rid of the hyphen.
Get rid of it, I guess.
Get rid of it.
Well, I'll take it, but thank you,
You
honestly,
jettison
folks.
the hyphen,
Folks,
like you jettison any redundant fuel tanks
I
to
want
get
to take
to
out the
space.
vowels. Take out the just SPRSTR.
Yeah. Well,
Make
listen.
it go a little bit faster.
Tom Hanks is here. Control a round of applause. Listen to this excitement.
Thank
This
you,
is
crack
genuine.
staff. Thank you. Thank you. There you go.
Tom.
That's my. There's my salaried employees. They know how to do this, right?
Tom, you were due in on Friday. I saw you on the telly on Friday night. You clearly, you were under the weather. You were as sick as a dog.
Is that the worst thing you can say in England? Sick as a dog?
Sick as a parrot, sick as a dog,
what's
under the weather, below par.
I was under the weather.
Death's door, that
Now,
kind of
let me
stuff.
tell you something about how cold Americans feel here when it gets cold in London. I've been skiing, in the Rocky Mountains and whatnot. And it's cold there, but there's pine trees and there's open sky. And to come here and be cold is surrounded by damp asphalt and brick buildings and low-hanging It is the coldest I've ever been. Cold deep down inside. I mean, like Marley's Ghost kind of cold is the way I felt cold.
That's where he got it from. That's the Dickensian, you felt the cold
You could still
issuing from the
hear
pages.
it in my voice a little bit.
I can, and thank you.
Me.
You didn't need to do this. You rescheduled. I know you're on the way back to the airport.
I'm not going to miss this view. I'm not going to miss this view from the Shard up in your
Check
fabulous.
that out. Look over your left shoulder.
I have to say, you can sell tickets.
I know.
To tourists to come up here and take photographs.
And that way we even make some money on this station. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be amazing, Tom.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is that A, Tom Hanks is here. B, The Moonwalkers, this installation in the Lightroom. Hockney kicked off the Lightroom. Vassos went there on the day that Hockney was there.
You saw it.
It's not a movie. It's not a movie.
There's no way to describe it other than when we walked into it was called Bigger, Closer, the David Hockney piece. I thought, I'm with the wife and some friends. My wife says, we're going to go see this David Hockney exhibit. And I thought, okay, I've seen some paintings. I'll go check that. At Lightroom, you walked into a David Hockney painting while David Hockney was painting it, and as he is telling you in your ear what he's doing and how he's made. I have never experienced anything like it before, and as soon as it was done, I grabbed the staff over there and said, have you guys ever thought of putting people on the moon? Because if you could walk into a David Hockney painting, second best to that would be the Sea of Tranquility over the ocean of storms, and lo and behold, they made it happen before my very eyes.
So you pitched live.
I did, yeah.
Oh, my goodness me.
Yeah, and at the time it was great. Of course, I thought, let's talk about it for the next year and a half.
Yeah.
That was last March, and it opens today. That's how fast that
you
crack team
so you were so
over there.
inspired, because that's what it's all about. It's about inspiration. So you inspired Move so much yourself that you went to the organisers on the day and said, have you thought about space? And they said, well, you're sort of renowned for your connection with space. You're good friends with Captain Jim, who you played in Apollo
Jim
13.
Lovell, yes.
You're a fan of space anyway. Did they throw it right back at you and put it?
They said, yeah, no, that'd be great. Let's do it. Would you like to work on it together?
Right.
I said, sure. If there's
So what did you do next?
Anything I can do. Well, we started talking about the theme of it because look, as you know, you don't want it to be you don't want to go to something and have it be work, right? So this was it's not necessarily a history lesson about what we did. It's actually about what we're doing right now, because one of the things that Lightroom brought to it is we brought in literally the next crew of Artemis astronauts that are going somewhere within the next year or two. They're going to fly around the moon, come back. They're going to see Earthrise. And not too long after that, this I vow, Rachel, The first woman is going to walk on the moon within the next 5 years. And the first non-white American is going to walk on the moon as well. And they will be the 13th, the 14th, 15th, 16th human beings to walk. So it's not just this great thing that happened when I was a kid. It's this thing that is evolving before our very eyes. And that's something that Lightroom people brought along with them.
All right. So how is it? Is it a show? Is it on a loop? How long does it last?
It lasts about 50 minutes.
Right.
Then there's 5 minutes before it starts up again. But understand, as you know, it operates all around you. So you have to keep moving around to take in all of the stimuli and all the images that we have. It is a dense show. We have the most beautiful score you have ever heard, recorded by the fabulous Royal Philharmonic and the London Bulgarians Women's Choir.
Nice.
It's magnificent. So I don't want to overuse the words fully immersive enough, but as close as you can get to being on the moon is Lightroom standing there, and you will, with a crystal clarity, you will see things that will leave you. Am I using the word gobsmacked appropriately?
Yeah, completely.
All right, you will be amazed, and you will feel as though you've gone.
Control a round of applause for the use of gobsmackers by a North
Open that door
American.
again and have my staff applaud me.
That is a gobsmacker round of applause.
All right, thank you, staff.
And by the way, God said yes to you coming here. God said yes. God said yes. Yes or no?
That's right.
How do you spell God, Tom?
G-O-D.
Yeah, how do you spell it? What does it mean?
Grace, order, and direction.
Come
How about
on.
that? You like that?
We love
Grace,
a bit of
order,
that, don't we?
Where'd you hear that from?
I heard it on that amazing interview you did with that kid who's so annoying because he's so good, the mythical chef on Mythical Kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
He's too good, that guy.
Yeah.
He's only 30. I know that sounds old to younger people, but when you're
He's
30,
only 30.
you shouldn't be that at ease with Superstar. That was a great interview, Tom.
Well, there's this kind of there is a new listening sort of economy that goes on into the idea of podcasts and books on tapes and stuff like that.
He's good, though. He got through a load of stuff.
He was very good. And aren't we always we're always searching for, some aspect of what's it all about, Chris?
Yeah.
What's all this mean? Well, a little bit of grace and a little bit of order and a little bit of direction.
And a little bit of Lightroom.
A little bit of Lightroom.
But it's all coming together, isn't it?
Yeah.
You talked to him about various different things, and I thought it was all completely amazing. And then I listened to a podcast the next day with Brian Grazer.
Oh,
right.
Brian.
So
Brian's an old pal, yes.
We're talking to Tom Hanks about the Lightroom, about the Moonwalkers, this brand new immersive experience. It's not a movie, but you're going to love it. It's all documentarial footage as well. It's not CGI.
There is not a CGI image.
This is what I'm saying.
It is photographs. Dr. Chris Riley, the co-writer, magnificent guy, used to write for the BBC. He knows everything. They actually said every photographic image was taken by a human being of the subject matter. There's nothing between the person who took it and the vast cosmos. Nothing at all. There's nothing artificial in it. And I think that is actually quite an amazing thing, because you're looking at these panoramas that are bigger than big, crystal clarity to the horizon. There's one point I asked, it's actually in the show, I asked, what of the last man to stand on the moon, a guy by the name of Gene Cernan. I said, Gene, you're out there for 7 hours at a time. What did you do when you had a moment off? He said, Tom, we were busy every minute when we were out there, but I'm going to tell you right now, when I had a minute, Tom, I looked off into the inky void of the deep space time continuum. That's pretty cool. Well, that's a pretty good thing to do on your
My favorite photograph in the world, no, not in the world, that's a lie, I'm just saying that trying to impress you. One of my favorite photographs in the world is the one that the third member of the Neil Armstrong Buzz Aldrin crew took.
Mike Collins.
Do you know the photograph I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the ascent module and the Earth behind it?
Yeah, and it's special because
the only person not in the photograph is the man who took it.
Yeah,
now,
that's the only human being in existence at the time. That is not.
I can't. Now, why does that thrill us so much, Chris?
Because it's amazing. Because he bothered to do it.
Well, yeah.
That's
he said,
thing.
let me.
Imagine if he said, do you know I could have taken that? Why didn't you take the photo? I did take the photograph. Thank God you took the photograph. Because one day, maybe I'll interview Tom Hanks and we can talk about it.
I heard him talk about that photograph once from a long time ago. And he said, I call this photograph, There They Are. There's my friend Neil and Buzz, and they're in that little spacecraft, and everybody else is on the planet behind them. And I just think that he's not there. I would have that framed. I would give that as my autograph picture if I had taken that photograph.
Yeah.
Why is this photograph special? Because I'm the only person not in it.
All
Michael
right, Brian.
Collins
Back to
could say
Brian
that.
Grazer, right? So,
What do you know about Brian?
well, quite a lot now, because he did a podcast with my friend, and I don't know if you know why he cast you in Apollo 13. Do you know why? Because he answered that. I've never heard him ask the question, but he answered the question. Do you know why he cast you?
No.
Do you want to know?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're now going to play you Brian's answer to why, because you know he was going to cast.
No, who?
Well, he had a short list of 3 extremely well-known action heroes because it's an action hero piece.
Oh, yeah, it
right?
could be an action hero.
Yeah,
thing,
and there was one.
Okay,
that
yeah.
he was gonna. He was going to be the guy.
Good casting, right?
And then he didn't. He cast you, and this is Tom Hanks. This is why Brian Grazer cast you in Apollo 13.
Okay.
That's exactly right. I wasn't even going to cast Tom Hanks. You know, there was all these other action stars. They said, go get this guy or go get that guy, or I don't want to say their names. They're all great actors. But I said to myself, I was all ready to pull the trigger on one of those action stars. And I asked myself, like, but who does the world want to save the most? They want to save Tom Hanks the most.
Yeah. What is it about that guy that makes him so indelible in that way? What is his defining quality?
I think
in your
people feel his
opinion?
goodness. I just think people feel his basic goodness. And he's, you know, as far as an actor, he's entertaining, but he doesn't need to steal the show, so he can actually, you know, you can actually love him at the same time.
Can we have my staff applaud that a little bit? Can we have the control room again?
Here we go.
There we go. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, they're earning their pay.
Who would the world want to survive? Who would they want to save? My wife would have cast Lenny Kravitz.
All right.
Yeah, because he and I are so
Excellent casting,
similar.
Oh,
Clearly.
Yeah. As Chris. Okay, that's good. Well, you know, that's I'm going to give that as a credit to Brian and Ron Howard who wrote it, because there could have been a version of that in which one guy, you know, saved Apollo 13 and brought everybody home. But that wouldn't have been true to the endeavor. It was about 400,000 people trying to figure out what went wrong and bring him back, and it was a group effort. It wouldn't be one guy with a screwdriver and pluck. It would have been inaccurate.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to remember on a daily basis is don't forget to be the star of your own movie every single day, but also be aware and acknowledge that oftentimes in that same day you're in someone else's movie.
The 3 of us on that, Kevin Bacon and I, and Bill Paxton, bless his eternal memory. We lost him a few years ago. I can't tell you if you. There was a moment where we were all in our space helmets, right? And all we could hear was on the radio was Ron Howard and each other. And if you heard the jokes and the humor that went down when we knew we were so private we could say anything under our breath, it would have been quite X-rated a couple of times.
Yeah,
there's an awful lot of, hey, did you hear the joke about the guy who went camping by himself? You know, jokes like that.
Yeah,
you don't
and then the
wanna
bear
repeat that.
appeared, and
hey, easy now.
now they're married.
Easy now.
And Jim Collins was Jim Lovell. Jim Lovell, not Mike Collins. Jim Lovell was often around whilst you were filming.
He came
and
by.
now he's a friend of yours. He's still with us, God bless him.
Oh yeah. We just lost his wife recently. I run into Jim every now and again. Look, you know, and the fact that all those former astronauts, they're very busy guys.
Yeah.
They're all, first of all, they're appearing everywhere because everybody wants to know what was it like, what'd you see, what you do. But they're all altruistic. They're all doing things for all sorts of different organizations. So Jim's a busy guy.
I flew a plane once with Buzz Aldrin. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah?
A light aircraft, yeah. He's like a dude, isn't he? He should have been in a rock and roll band.
He's a bodacious cat.
His rings are bigger than most people's bangles. And his hands are like farmer's hands. They're huge,
Now,
man.
here's something else you got to remember about Buzz Aldrin. He flew MiGs. He shot down MiGs in MiG Alley in the Korean War.
He's the real
He went
deal.
toe-to-toe with, communist pilots back during that police action.
Wow.
So how many times did he cheat death, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
Quite a few.
So Jim's still around. He's 95. Talking about running into people, hopefully not in your car, but the Corvette you drive in Apollo 13, the red Corvette.
Yeah.
Where is it?
That's a good question.
Did you ever keep any cars from any movies? Because that is a cool car, and also astronauts have a history with Corvettes, don't they?
Well, now there was a bit of a scandal at the time because they were government employees. Astronauts.
They were company cars. Huh?
They were not supposed to take gifts. So what happened is the Corvette dealerships around Houston just let them borrow it for as long as they wanted to.
Yeah,
and they would decorate them with their little seals and stuff like that. Their little emblems, their little patches. Of their stuff, but that's not a bad dig. It's not a bad gig getting a free Corvette from the local Chevy dealerships.
And there's the limited edition with split rear screen one that Neil and Buzz and Mike Collins got. They were like mega. I don't know where they are now, but they're worth a fortune.
I would think that if you want to have a low profile in Houston in 1967, you might not want to drive the Corvette around town. You might want to dress down.
And they look like
bit.
Spaceships, didn't they?
Oh
A
my
lot of
God,
those 60s
they look like
cars.
aircraft.
They were amazing. Memorabilia from Apollo 13. Did you get to keep any? How does that work? You're good friends with the director. Of course, you're in Splash. You have and Ron Howard. You have great history with him too.
There's a couple of things we stole.
Come on, tell us.
Well,
tell us about theft.
I did not
Hollywood
steal.
theft.
Actually, they put it into budget. We kept the Omega Speedmaster watches. The official flight recognized the type that flew. I kept a couple of pieces of the flight plan. I kept one of those. Upside down pens, the space
gravity
pens.
pen.
So we were just down in Houston, and we took a tour of all the the space station mock-up stuff, and we were told there's Russians and there's Americans and international stuff. And they said, Americans, we spent about $50,000 developing a pen that could write upside down in outer space. $50,000 for an upside-down pen. The Russians use a pencil. So what is the cost? What is the cost saving? Maybe a little bit of overthinking the technology.
That is so cool, isn't it?
I said, well, they got to sharpen those pencils up there. That could be dangerous.
But when you get ahead of yourself in a meeting, you can forget the basics, can't you? I suppose.
That would be my first budget cutting, expenditure.
But would you realise it? Because you get the big budget, and suddenly common sense goes out of the window.
Well, yeah,
I'd imagine so. We were going through the top, some of the more interesting space memorabilia to be sold at auction, which we thought you might like.
You got?
We just thought we'd give you stuff you might like. So
in the top 10 is Jim Lovell's notebook from Apollo 13, $388,000 that went for. And in the top 3, we have Neil Armstrong's bag with moon dust from lunar rock samples.
That's pretty good.
How about that? Yeah.
$1.8 million. And number 2, Buzz Aldrin's white Apollo 11 mission jacket. $2.7 million. But at number 1, the 1961 Russian Vostok space capsule, $2.9 million.
The whole capsule?
No. The whole capsule.
Wow, that'd be a nice little cubby hole. Go in there and make some phone calls.
Little
That
man
is
cave?
for sale? How is that possible that you could buy an entire...
Apparently the Russian stuff is easier to get than the NASA stuff.
But wait, how much was the Russian capsule for?
2.9 mil.
Man, oh man. That's more bang for your buck. I mean, not just getting a bag with some lunar dust in
Well,
there.
the lunar dust could be an issue. Rachel, give us your moon fact.
Well, the moon fact that I found was that astronauts' footprints stay on the moon for 1 million years.
1 million years.
And that also some of the astronauts suffer from lunar fever instead of hay fever.
Oh.
Because of all the dust particles.
Yeah, I had heard from all the guys that I talked to, Jack Schmidt, Pete Conrad, Albin, and they said, Tom, it smells like gunpowder. When you come inside, it smells like fireworks that all gone. It smells like sulfur. I talked to one guy, Jack Schmidt. He was the last man to set foot on the moon. He was on Apollo 17. He said it was incredibly abrasive. The moon dust, you can't see it, but it actually eats away at some of the metal on the cuffs. And the last time they went out, because they did 3 moonwalks, they had to put petroleum jelly around the gate, the valves and the connections of their gloves in order to make it
It's
airtight.
a bit worrying,
So,
isn't it?
so it's abrasive. It's like a type of sandpaper.
Have you talked to other famous Hollywood actors who've starred in sort of space films about going to space?
I just did the one show with George Clooney, and he floated around there with Sandra Bullock on Gravity.
Did you compare
right?
Hollywood Space Notes?
A little bit there, yeah. And I like to think that we did it a little harder and a little better than all those other
Well,
guys
it was easy.
did.
It gets easier, doesn't it? As technology moves on, and you were still being.
Well, the truth is, yeah.
You've been flown around.
We actually went up and got sick and upchucked, on the Vomit Comet there, where they're aptly named aircraft that we get, about 27 seconds of simulated
Weightlessness.
gravity. And you haven't lived until we did this one thing on Apollo 13 where they put the set in this plane sideways. And so we had to float up and then stand on our, stand like 3 to 9 on the clock. But then when gravity kicked in, Bill Paxton and I landed on top of each other, poking each other in the eye. Sorry, Bill. Then we had to do it all over
See,
again.
I've just belched then. I chunned it a little bit. Just the thought of weightlessness makes me queasy.
You cannot understand the concept of what weightlessness does to your stomach until you have been weightless.
Because I've been
like
properly
that.
seasick and motion sick and things like that
It'll
in
do that.
simulators and things.
I was on the second time I went up. I said I don't have to take the medication because I know what this is like now. I had a bout of nausea that actually gave. It was an out of body experience. I went out of my corporeal self. I saw myself turning green, and felt a type of
Your
wave.
corporeal self.
No. I literally my spirit rose out of my body and looked back at my glassy eyes, and then came back in. I have never been that sick except last Friday when I dodged doing your show.
Oh,
because
listen,
I was so bad.
don't go yet, but please, thanks so much for that, and thanks for rescheduling. We so appreciate it. How sick did you feel, and where do you hole up, by the way, in London? Is it a hotel, or do you have
I
an
was in a
Airbnb?
hotel, yeah.
Yeah, and were you just sick? Because you are such a pro. Were you literally as sick as a dog?
I was, but I'm going to say there is a thing called Lemsip.
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 Yeah.
Oh my God, that one. If you take 2 Baracas and a Lemsip and pour that in hot water, and that will take away your cold in a matter of. I just did that for 36
Well,
hours. It
after
came
you're
out on the other
out
side.
of corporeal, how did you describe that?
Out of body. I rose out of my corporeal self, and my spirit looked back and saw my.
Who needs
glassy eyes.
ayahuasca?
That's all you need.
You don't need any of this
Just get
stuff.
yourself some good nausea and a nice cold
Good
here
nausea
in London.
to you. Good nausea, everybody. Good nausea, Vietnam.
Yeah.
So, as a kid, would you say that probably projection-wise, the role you most would want to have most inhabited would be Jim? As a kid,
I will tell you that. Oh, as a kid,
when you were a kid,
absolutely. If someone had said you will be an actor and you get to play any role that you would want to play, I remember rushing home in order to see if Apollo 13 was going to come around on the other side of the moon. They built it up as a lot of danger, and so I was literally on my couch waiting for them to come around on the far side of the moon. And the first voice I heard when they came from around was Jim Lovell saying, "Houston, be aware, there really is a Santa Claus," because it was a gift that Santa Claus gave. So the idea that I would get to meet the man, hang out with the man. Jim Lovell took me flying at night.
wow.
Over South Texas, and he made me fly the airplane. At night. I've never flown a plane in my life. He said, "Go ahead, take the controls, Tom." And he said, "Aim towards Antares," which was a star on the horizon. And he said, "What? Just fly us towards Antares." And so I did that for about 20 minutes. And he said, "Okay, now bring us around 180 degrees and fly us toward Nunki," which is this other star that he told me where. And so I did that. So I was piloting Jim Lovell in a plane in the dark of night for the better part of an evening all by myself. If you would have told me I had done that, I would have thought I'd won the lottery. Never mind make a movie about
It's so amazing, isn't it? It's so amazing. You know, the life you inhabit now, you didn't come from nothing, but you didn't come from much. And your company, Pantone, is it your production
Playtone.
Playtone. Pantone.
Pantone.
I was going to say, why is it called Pantone? Well, it's not.
It's
okay,
not.
so that's
that would be one of the reasons.
So
By the way, great research on the staff there over in the production staff.
This is all my bad.
Way to go, guys.
Round of applause for the fact it wasn't you.
Yeah,
it wasn't your
hey,
bad.
staff, can you get, what is it called?
Playtone.
There you go. Oh, my Lord.
Why would you call it Pantone? Playtone.
I don't know.
Pantomime. So you're on the corner of
mistime.
Wiltshire and Santa Monica.
We're down there.
Okay,
in Santa
and
Monica.
you receive on a yearly basis a big box from another famous Tom Cruise.
Oh.
Just tell it, because it's Christmas. Tell
No,
us.
I'm not the only one.
All
All
right.
right. Okay. So
Really?
Mr. Cruz, God bless him, sends this out to an awful lot of people. But
Yes.
there is a type of cake. It is a vanilla coconut bundt cake.
Right.
That may be the most. What's the word I'm looking for? It is the most delicious cake you will ever have on your planet.
Irresistible.
It is so dense.
Yes.
First of all, the staff down at Playtone all fight over it because it's round, it's a bundt cake. It's got a hole in the middle. So no one wants to be the last person to take a slice.
Yeah.
So it gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner as everybody is grabbing a little bit of it. So it's like razor thin at some point. But it is so dense that if you have a bite of it in your mouth, right? And someone says, "What are you eating?" You have to admit, it's taku cake. It is like eating a brick, a sweet, delicious coconut-filled vanilla brick that, look, I have type 2 diabetes, so I have to be careful of my sugar intake, but I let it go when it comes around to taku cake. You gotta have
the
some of that.
chocolates in Forrest Gump, were they sugar-free?
Not at that time. I didn't know I was pre-diabetic at the time.
Okay,
so.
got it.
They are now.
Yeah. It is Christmas.
But not that taku cake.
You talk
That's the real
about
stuff.
there's no place you'd rather be in the world than round the cruise. The Hanks, maybe the cruise, the Hanks dinner table with your kids, fighting just the right amount, laughing a lot, and basically being in love with each other. And you describe that's how we want to think that you exist. Then we
all do, don't we?
We hear about Brian. We hear about Brian Grazer saying, you got to cast Tom Hanks because the world wants to save Tom Hanks. And then, you hear this idyllic, you've got a great work ethic. You couldn't make it on Friday. You bothered to come here on the way to the airport. You're on Graham's show. You give in all the time. You're a total pro.
I show up on time. I know my lines.
You know your lines, all that kind of stuff.
Idea.
Hurry up and wait. We know how acting is. Where's this come from? Where's this goodness come from? Again, our little mythical chef friend, he said, it's like you've made a contract with yourself to guarantee to get into heaven.
There was a time. My parents got divorced when I was really young, and there was a time where it was just myself, my brother, my sister, and my dad, and we were living in a very small apartment in one of these complexes that just went to the horizon. There were like 14 buildings, and we were in building 2, apartment 114. It was pristine when we moved in, and it was a god-awful wreck by the time we left because there were only 3 feral kids. And you would have thought that would have been, we were neglected. We were like latchkey kids. Our diets were terrible because we cooked for ourselves. There wasn't a pot of soup that we did not burn that boiled over onto the stove, so it smelled like burnt tomato soup. You would have thought that we were kind of like lone wolves, lonely kids. All we did was laugh. We just carried on. My brother is one of the most hilarious people on the planet Earth. My sister bossed us around all the time. My dad was never home because he was working in the restaurant business. So we were left to ourselves, but we were not evil kids. We were not breaking rules. We would much rather come up with some goofy laughs, and we did. And we'd run around the neighborhood, but then come home and be together and just crack each other up as we were going. And I remember it as being 2.5 years of the most fun that I'd ever had, where other people would think, you poor neglected children wearing rags, dirty clothes. Well, that's true. We did, because we just didn't do the laundry that much. There was one time, I'll tell you this, we had to do the laundry ourselves like every Saturday, and we had to do all of the laundry, my dad's laundry, the sheets, all of our stuff. And the laundry, the washing machines and the dryers were up on the second floor. So we had to go all the way down the elevator, all the way down the hallway, around the mailboxes, into the elevator, and up to the second floor, into the laundry room. And so we were pulling out all the clothes one day, me and my brother, my older brother, Larry. And he said, "Oh, this is too much stuff. Hey, I don't know if I can carry all this stuff myself. So you come behind me and just pick up anything that I might happen to drop. All right?" So he, in the elevator, he dropped something. By the mailboxes, he dropped something. He turned the corner. And by the time I turned the corner to mine, he had dropped something every 3 feet. And he was standing in front of our apartment door, empty-handed.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff we did. And was I mad? No, it actually made me laugh so hard that I try to do the same thing to my kids.
But where does that bonhomie come from? Is it just, were you blessed?
I would, I guess so. I
you
was
hold on
blessed
to
with
it?
good family.
And you're grateful to this day. You're forever grateful. Do you have any parenting tips for anybody listening?
I was told when my daughter was born, Elizabeth, she was our second kid. The pediatrician just said the most smartest thing. He said, "You cannot hold this little girl too much." And if you take that into just saying you cannot look at them too much, you cannot talk to them too much, you cannot ask them questions too much. Now, all 4 of my kids, my other kids, Rita and I have 2 kids as well. They would all say, "So why didn't you, Dad?" They would immediately start ragging on me for not living up to that pediatrician's advice. But that's just let them know that they are loved. That's all you can do.
Did having a contract with one of them help at all?
Oh, you heard about that? All right. Okay. By the time you get around to your 4th kid, you're exhausted.
I have 5.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking
yeah.
about. Sometimes you just don't. And there was a period of time where I was working a lot and there was stuff I was busy. So I had a tendency to bark at my youngest quite a bit. "Hey, knock that off. Hey, put that down. Don't do that. What did I tell you? Get up. You're late." I started being like that. And I came home one day and Rita's mom, my mother-in-law, who spoke with a Greek accent, she came home and she said, "Your son is afraid of you." I said, "What? Why?" He says you always yell at him. So he was like 3.5, 4 years old. So I sat down and I wrote a contract with him and we signed it right then and there. I drew a picture of myself yelling, and drew a red line, through it I said, "You've never done anything wrong. There's no reason that I should lie. So I hereby vow, if you ever find me yelling at you again, you can say, 'Dad, you're yelling at me,' and I will immediately take it back." And we signed it. He signed it. We dated it. He still has it somewhere. And it worked because he mentioned it when he graduated from high school.
Did he?
Yeah. He said, when I was 5 years old, my dad signed a contract with me to stop yelling.
It's all about the contracts.
So it was, by the way, I didn't get around that till my last kid. So I should have signed that contract.
It does help. Things like that help if you write things down, and because not only do other people get to see what you're thinking, you get to see it back, don't you? And that's a real moment.
Yeah, you've got how old's your youngest?
Twins, 5.
Oh, really? Oh my! Oh,
Yeah,
I'm exhausted just hearing
I know,
that. Don't
tell
you
me
want to take
about
a
it.
nap? Just
Yeah.
That's why you come into work so much. Work is a pleasure. Am I
Hang on a
not
minute.
right? Stop.
Shush.
Yeah.
By the way,
don't
you're bang on.
But you get around to some degree of you want to be able to pay attention to them as best you can. But by the time you get down to 4 and 5, you've been pretty well stretched, right?
Beaten up.
Do you not think that all of your kids, because of their different ages, have a different perspective of you?
Oh, 100%.
Because who you were at the
100%.
time when they were youngest.
Totally, yeah, and where they were on the journey, and they've all got different personalities. Even the twins, boy and a girl, I can't remember their names, to be honest, but...
Let's name them now.
Yeah.
Rachel and...
to be honest, we called them Ping and Pong for quite a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're called Bill Malt. But no, those two are completely different. But twins, by the way, because the 2 secrets. First of all, yeah, we do come here for a rest. I'm exhausted at the weekend. You guys, yeah?
Yeah,
We come here for a rest 5 days a week, best 5 mornings of the week by far. Obviously, we can't, that's not the story we go with because it doesn't work. We won't get paid. We have to pay them, etc. But the other thing is twins. They sort of sort each other out, to be honest.
Do they speak in a secret language that you don't
Probably,
understand?
I don't know. It would be a secret. How would I know that?
Well, that's true. You know, maybe you could get it out of them. But do they just kind of like look at each other like,
Yeah.
you know, like children from
They
special
got it all going on.
village, and
their
they communicate with their eyes and eyebrows and body language?
And their kids 24/7, and we're part-time. All parents are part-time parents. Kids are full-time kids.
That's a good way of putting it.
Oh my God!
How can we ask them to, relate to anything that we're going through? They're kids.
And we were once kids, and they've not yet been grown-ups, but they're still better at it than we are. There's a great book called How to Raise a Parent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've not read it, but I really want to read it. It's going to be my Christmas.
I'll give that to my kids because it's not too late.
Is it time?
They can change me. They can alter me a
Are you
little bit.
granddaddy Tom yet?
Oh yeah.
Congratulations.
Three times over.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Tom, I got to let you go. I've not been told to let you go, but I just want to let you go because I'm so grateful that you came in. Let's just recap why you're here. The Moonwalkers is at the Lightroom. To get to the Lightroom, all you have to do is take a train from anywhere in the world to
St. Pancras Station, Euston Station, King's Cross.
And we'll throw Liverpool Street in there, which is just right next to King's Cross.
Right, okay, very good. By the way, great area down there. A lot going down.
Really cool. Google it there. They've relocated there. The reason St. Pancras is called St. Pancras...
Okay, who is St. Pancras? What does St. Pancras do?
Patron saint of children.
There's a theme here.
He himself was decapitated. He was beheaded for not renouncing his Christian faith in front of some kind of horrible Roman emperor at the age of just 14 in 304 BC, AD, 304 AD.
Do that, and you get a train station named after you.
I know. Why St. Pancras called it? That's who St. Pancras is, which was your question the other day.
Yeah, I
just thought I'd give that to you, but I don't know why we called. I don't know why particularly. Why not? Of course, it's all, the best answer to why is always why not, and then why.
If you want to make that a little softer, Chris, just say he refused to give up his faith. You could lose the beheading, the decapitation thing.
I know. I took a sledgehammer to a walnut there.
A little bit more. You
this is the
overstated your point.
Nuance coming in. This is why the world wants to save Hanks, but not me.
You're still telling the truth, and you're still salient. I mean, there is a reason he's a saint because he did not turn his back on his faith
at the age of 14.
Never mind the bad news that goes along with that.
Why do you think? What is the key? Before you go, what is the key to Jimmy Stewart? Yeah. James Stewart.
All right, okay.
Yeah. The most likable. Had Apollo 13 been made when he was at his peak, he would have been cast.
Well, he played Charles Lindbergh in that story, a few other things. I actually met Mr. Stewart.
Yeah.
I was photographed with him for...
Can you do him?
Well, a little bit. So everybody, I didn't want to show up at his house and ask him 8 million questions. So I actually talked to him about... flying because he was a pilot, know, and he flew missions during World War II. So it was talking about. I said, "Did you learn how to fly here?" Yeah, we take off down from where LAX is now, and rabbits would run across the runway in front of our plane as we were taking off. He didn't have any memorabilia in his house at all. You saw no sign of his movies or anything like that. He had one little Harvey the Rabbit. And he told me a story about he did a production of Harvey on stage here in London, as a matter of fact, in the 1950s, I guess, somewhere around there. And he said, they'd bring all their kids, to see Harvey. And the thing about Harvey, there's no real rabbit. You don't see it. And we'd hear all the kids there. And about halfway through the first act, you'd hear them start saying, "Where's the rabbit? Where's the rabbit?" The only advice he gave me was this. He said, "Well, you just keep those grosses up on your films, and everything will be fine." That's what he did. Yeah.
He's so good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Tom, can you say cinch?
Cinch.
Dot. Co. Dot.
UK.
There are sponsors.
What's that mean?
Well, I'll put it together and then we'll get that.
Cinch.com.uk.
And can you say the Chris Evans Breakfast Show?
And the Chris Evans Breakfast Show.
One more time.
The Chris Evans Breakfast Show here. cinch.com.uk.
Tom, you're awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for rescheduling.
Oh, happy to
No,
do
it's
it.
as good as it gets. Round of applause for Tom Hanks.
Let's hear it, staff.
From the staff.
Thank you. Parting gifts for everybody. Cheers, mate.
Merry Christmas, Tom. Have the best Christmas ever.
Thank you, guys.